middle of the 1950s, Brother Gene Hillman had come to work in the Moshi Diocese of Tanzania, and he quickly learned that the Wachaga people who lived in the Moshi area had been very much Christianized, but the Maasai, who were to the west, had been completely unevangelized and not even contacted. So he took on himself the evangelization of the Maasai people. So he got permission from the bishop at that time to move to Arusha, which was the beginnings of the Maasai area. Very quickly, he arranged to have inexpensive buildings built by the English government and moved them to different sites around Maasai land. So he constructed a number of schools and chapels to be used in the future years. So by the time the Diocese of Arusha was formed in 1963, he had a foundation for beginning the work among the Maasai. He himself traveled over most of the Maasai area over 7 to 8 years to make contact with people and to inaugurate the operation of the primary schools for the Maasai children. At that time in history, evangelization was done through the schools. So the students in the schools were exposed to Christian teaching, and as they became older in the upper grades of primary school, many of them accepted baptism with the permission of their parents. So by the time the Diocese of Arusha was formed in 1963, evangelization had begun and expanded from that time into the 1960s, 70s, and onward. In the late 1960s, Father Vince Donovan, who had been working in Maasai land for a few years, decided that evangelization through the schools was not the answer to evangelization of a people, a tribe, and so he began the direct evangelization of people by working with elders in the Maasai villages, not through the schools. And that emphasis on the villages continues until this day in the 21st century. The schools were taken over by the government in 1968, including the schools started by Catholic, Lutheran, or other private groups, mostly church groups. And so all primary schools became the responsibility of the Tanzanian government. But the representatives of the Christian religions were still allowed to go into the schools to teach religion. For the Catholics, at least, that was a secondary issue because they concentrated at this point on with evangelization of elders in the Maasai traditional villages. Secondary schools can be still run by the churches, but the primary schools are all government. In Arusha town, too, the Joseph Babu had started a secondary school in Arusha, and still that continues today under the auspices of the Catholic Church.
Every culture changes, but there are things basically that remains the same. And as missionaries, we respect that culture. We respect the people, And the change comes from within by the power of the Holy Spirit, not by the power of the missionary. Maybe the missionary might influence, might become friendly with people, but it's the Holy Spirit that does the work. And now they're into education, and they see that as a value. They see things that could make a difference in their life. And if they want to control their life as a tribe, as a people, as a Maasai people, they have to have the leadership. And the only way they can get that leadership, and they know it for sure, especially the young people, especially the kids and the women. The men, some yes, some no, but it's already going. It's out of the thing. We had the first prime minister under Nyerere, it was a Maasai fella, very friend of Nyerere, and Sokoine, he was killed early on, or he would have been the next president after Nyerere. Everybody says that. A Maasai person, a person who Gene Hillman took out of the Boma, had a fight with his parents to get them to school, but he went to school. He went to a Catholic school in Moshi. He went from there only to second year of high school, and he became prime minister and was a very significant person in the country. So even now we have leaders in healthcare, in education, and in government. The present minister of education is a Maasai fella from Indalin. Before that was another Maasai fellow from Kijungu. Before that was another Maasai fellow from Endalin again, who studied, all of these fellows studied Odonya Sambu Seminary, the junior seminary of the Archdiocese of Arusha. So there's an impact, and it's growing, and they see the value of the Christian message in that. And things will change. You got to give it time. You can't force things. You can't force change anywhere in the world. We got to let it come, as the Holy Spirit will move it on.